Can you able to hear me? It's just 1 minute. We are not.
The live has started actually.
So, Mitama, we can start.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, one and all joined here with us. On behalf of JSS Jain College for Women, I cordially welcome you all for the International Virtual Workshop on Proactively Designed for Your Research Journey organized by IQAC, JSS Jain College for Women. Every beginning starts with the blessings of Almighty. So let's have a prayer. Prayer song, please. Prayer song now. Could you play the prayer song? Ma'am, are you going to play the prayer song or shall I proceed? Vishalachi ma'am, now you can deliver the welcome address, please.
Yes. Good afternoon and very warm welcome to one and all joined here for the International Virtual Workshop on Proactively Design Your Research Journey organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell of JSS Jain College for Women. I extend a very warm welcome to our Honorable Secretary Sir, Dr. Gautam P. Vaid, and our respected Principal Madam, Dr. M.K. Malati. It is my pleasure to welcome all the professors and academicians across the globe. We have here a promising personality with us. My hearty welcome to our resource speaker, Dr. Damodaran Varadarajan, Head Department of Chair Business, Abu Dhabi Vocational Education and Training Institute. Hearty welcome to you, sir. And thank you very much for accepting the invitation and gracing this program. It is my immense pleasure to introduce our eminent guest to the gathering. As a brilliant alumnus of Laila College, Chennai, he is a scholar of extraordinary versatility. Dr. Damodaran obtained his bachelor's and master's in commerce, winning 3 gold medals. Soon he acquired MPhil, pursuing a research in entrepreneurial finance. His passion for teaching and research, perseverance, sincerity, and industry won him a PhD in 2006 from Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Vishwa Mahavidyalaya, Kanchipuram, India. His unquenchable thirst for knowledge prompted him to acquire 2 degrees in the branch of his choice, one from the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania, USA, and the other an honors degree from Oxford Brookes University, UK. Over and above the other aforesaid degrees, he has also won the following professional qualifications such as CMA from USA, ACCA from UK, and AICWA and ACA from India. Recognizing his praiseworthy performance and contribution to teaching, many organizations of international debut has honored him by presenting a prestigious awards such as ACBSP Region 8 Best of Region Presentation in 2011, ACBSP Region 8 Teaching Excellence Award in 2013 by International Council of Business School and Programs, and Fellowship in 2013 by World Business Institute Australia. Has not only won prizes and credits from foreign evaluators, but from countless students for his deft handling of modern teaching aids, his innovative and simple methods. His academic interests include book writing, innovative and effective teaching methods. He has a burning passion for not only for the acquisition of knowledge, but for the dissemination of the same. It may not be out of the place to mention here that he became a teacher not by chance, but by choice. We are greatly honored with the presence of Dr. Damodaran in our midst today. Thank you very much, sir, for once again, and thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our guest speaker, Dr. Damodaran Varadarajan, to take over the session.
Good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to Proactive Design Your Research. Let me start. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to present this research forum. Welcome all of you from different parts of the world. In terms of information, I just want to share a minute before I proceed further. My name is Dr. Damodar, 20 years of experience and expertise in teaching, research, consulting, and data analytical. And this is a summary of my achievement over a period of 25 years. We'll go back to the topic, then I'll come back later, and then we can look into it. To start our day, I just start Tamil proverb, though I given you a English anecdote meaning. Kattal kaiman alavu, kalladu ulagalavu. What you have learned is a mere handful. What you have not learned is the size of the world. Known is a drop, the unknown is an ocean. The poet Abhaya has rightly pointed out, what I learned is very, very limited. From the limited knowledge what I have, I'm just willing to share with all the fellow teachers, researchers, and professional people, and all the people who are joined around the world, who are listening and who are looking into it. Thanks for the opportunity, the Almighty. The most important thing before we start, first is writing down. That's the first step I always say to people. Refine your focus, what do you want to achieve, what do you want to work on. When you start your research, first try to understand what is happening. It can be trends, it can be baseline, it can be research groups and programs. So one of this is like what you are right now attending. You may be a research scholar, you may be a researcher, you may be a student, whatever it is. What you already know. Okay. And then the next one, can you identify any research area or a topic or an approach which attract you? When you learn or when you do anything, remember diagrammatic representation, conceptual maps, and mind maps are the most important thing which comes to our mind so that you can remember things. So today I'm going to discuss only three things: reading, rewriting, and refining. So we are going to learn at the end of today only three things. One is called reading, second is called rewriting, and refining. So with this, basic information, I'm getting into the topic. What is 1 minute today? Okay, so if you want to see the data, so every 1 minute of a day, what happens around us, it's quite interesting thing. Some of you as a student, or some of you as a scholar, some of you as a person, you can look into this information. So if you see the information, the most striking fact is, if you look into it, what happened in a minute. Just kindly observe what happened in a minute, then I'll go back to it. So in a minute, so many things happens around the world, but quite interesting thing, you are part of the world right now, and in terms of information, in terms of data, this is what happening. So either you are in Google searching something, or you're watching a YouTube video. That's what all of us are doing right now. So we are part of data now. We are into data, whether you like it or not, from your phone, from your laptop, from anything. So you're part of data. So to start with it, goals are what keep us going. But when you want to make a goal, be careful. It should be specific. The terms, we call it a SMART technique or SMART goals. It should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So each one of the focus, that's what we are going to do in today's presentation. Whatever goals you have, you will achieve it. But you have to make sure that the goals are focused enough so that you can achieve it by following this technique. So keep a goal, whatever it is. For example, as a researcher, you want to publish in a Scopus journal, you want to publish in a Scopus journal A, I'm sure that you'll achieve it. Maybe it will take a year, it will take a month, it will take 2 years, it will take 4 years. That's what we are going to look into it today. Today's agenda consists of 10 things which I'm going to discuss with you all. First one, identifying the research proposal or a problem. Second one, review the literature. Third one, setting research objectives, queries, and hypotheses. Third one, choosing the study design. Fourth one, deciding on the sample design. Then collecting data, processing and analyzing data, writing the report, publications, references, review, and impact factor. First one, identifying the research proposal or a problem. So this is the most important step when we start our research. So as a researcher, always it's important that when you start your research, today, say example, you type something today, you get 1 million videos, you get 5 million websites, you get a lot of information. Information is around us, data is around us. But what is important? What is research? How do they define research? It can be known or unknown. So the term research comes from two words, research. Basically, re means again, search means look for. So we have to look for information. Whatever you find something which is new or which is existing, but you want to change it, it becomes a research. So there's no uniform definition of research. Basically, we keep on researching. What is research today will become a literature tomorrow. So it's whatever we contribute, it's important. So the secret of success is to know something nobody else knows. This is what Aristotle have mentioned. So somebody doesn't know some information, you are willing to share that information, it becomes a research. So every part of your content is a research, whatever it is. In terms of business, since most of the scholars who are in the forum or doing business research or business teachers or business faculties, I just want to give you a glimpse of it. Business research specifically defined about a systematic and objective process of generating information to aid in making business decisions. So this is most important thing when we go back to it, because there are two types of business research. One, we call this as a basic research. The second one is called applied research. Now let's check what is the difference between these two. Before getting into it, when you want to do research, the most important thing is information. So why we need information? Because information helps us to reduce the uncertainty. Say example, in today's information, I don't know how many students are here. So if I put a Google document, send it across to you, whether you like to have online classes, face-to-face classes, or hybrid mode. Okay. If I ask the same query to my son who's doing his grade 12, the first thing he says is online. Why? He can switch off the camera and watch any videos and do something. Okay. So this is what reality is about. So in terms of information, sometimes for joking purpose, I just told you, but generally speaking, the entire world moved towards online because of COVID. But everybody now we are online. I'm sitting far away from India and trying to present something. So world has become a small place now. Whatever we learn, it's across the universe. So that's important, which is once again we considered as because of the technological advancement in terms of information. So once you have the information, so if you send a survey to the student and ask them what is the preference, face-to-face, on-site, or online, or hybrid, you'll get a feedback immediately. There are systems which are available which will give you instant feedback. So a teacher, as a student-centered approach, can get the information immediately. So that's what happened in terms of online mode. So getting into the two classification, basic research and applied research. What is basic research? Basic research just attempts to expand the limits of knowledge. So not directly involved in any solution. Say example is a teacher success correlated with a high need of achievement. Okay, once again, I put this query to all of you. What do you want to achieve in life? Okay, what do you want to achieve in life? What is your goal? I'm sure that some of you have went through with something called Maslow's need priority theory. So the needs is different from one person to another, but at the end of the day, you have to find out what is your need. So here, this research is not specific, it is in general terms. So this is called basic research. Applied research. When it comes to applied research, it's more of decision to be made about a specific real life problem. Here we are specific. Say example, I gave you example of online classes. I sent it across the student. I gave them two options, one online, the other one face-to-face. So in this case, this research is called applied research, or you can take the example, should McDonald's add Indian flavor to pasta to its menu? So yes or no. So in this case, you conduct a research based on that and try to, complete the research. It becomes a applied research. So moving further, the second part of it, we call this as literature review. When you talk about literature review, basically we are looking into the information which is existing. It's more or less available for you. So it can be readily available from academic books, it can be from journals, it can be from articles, it can be from newspapers, it can be from websites, etc. But the most interesting thing is it's already published data. Sometimes we call this as secondary data. So the main aim is already know. Then why have to look into this? Many researchers say that why do I do literature review? Somebody has done it. Basically, you have to identify the gaps. Try to understand the most important thing why we do literature review is identify the gaps in the literature. For example, when you do literature, we collect information, data, whatever related to your research, and when you rework on it, you'll be able to find or identify the gaps that will be part of your research study. In terms of research or literature review, these are some of the steps which you can look into it. The first one is called selecting a research query. In terms of searching the literature which is published in the area, then third one, managing the literature search results, identify whether it is sufficient enough by writing an assessment review, then rethinking, refining, and reworking so that whatever you receive will be asked in the literature review. So whether you get the right information, whether you get the wrong information, why and why not. So you keep on trying to identify all those areas which are important. Then once you complete your literature review, what you will have? A literature review will give you these. I have an in-depth grasp of your knowledge. So that means I can conclude that I understood what is the topic is about. Second, whether your own research fit into it and add to the existing body of knowledge. Remember that we are not copy paste. Okay, that's a I don't know, first thing when you learn from Microsoft Word or Excel, or students nowadays, whenever we say that do the assignment, go to Google, cut, copy, paste. Okay, they didn't know that in our times there is no Turnitin, there is no plagiarism software. So sometimes they couldn't find out. But nowadays we can find out exactly from where information is taken. So make sure that when you gather information, always check the sources, find out what is the references. So first you have to understand your research, then you have to add to the existing body of knowledge. What it demonstrates, your literature review should demonstrate these points. If you can demonstrate these 4 points, that means you have done an excellent literature review. Your literature review will give you a capability of searching ability, whether you are searching in the right area. Then, second one, it will judge you, your value, your relevance, and trustworthiness. As I mentioned to you, that whenever you gather information, always that should be a reference where you are taken from and what is the source. That's the most important thing. What you have learned from others. So basically, in your area of research, whatever you have learned, say example, the impact of COVID around the world. If you go back today, you can collect the data. You can check the status of your flight sitting at your home across the world. So these kind of data you have to see and try to analyze and understand. The final one is your research is a starting point for new ideas. So from the reading, so once again, remember, as I mentioned to you, once you complete the task, read, rewrite, and refine. So when you complete the second step, make sure that you follow these 3 processes: reading, rewriting, and refining. Moving further, the formulation of the problem is often more essential than its solution. So sometimes when you start your research, it's not necessary that you'll get a solution, but at least you identify the areas where further research can be taken place. So remember that we have to keep in your mind something called the third step, setting research queries, objectives, and hypotheses. So this is the most important area of research where we try to define what you are going to do. So in this step, basically, we talk about a well-defined problem is off-solved. It is considered the foundation for the development of research proposal. So whenever you want to do research, first define what is your research. Second one, it enables the researcher to systematically point out why the proposed research on the problem or objective should be undertaken and what he hopes to achieve with the findings of the study. So the second point is you have to have an objective. Third one, once you are well defined, it is easy to go back and find out which is the appropriate method. So first and foremost thing is your objective. So how do you define or get an answer? So this is the method I use in my personal life as well as in my professional life. Generally, if I come across any problem, I just go through this one once again and once again. A great anecdote from Rudyard Kipling. I had 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names were where, what, when, and how, why, and who. You define any problem and put, the answer for this. That means you have solved this problem. You can go to the next problem. So basically, you write where, what, when, how, why, and who. So if you can get the answer for this, your problem is solved, solved. Objective and hypothesis. So once we have defined the problem, the next step is we are trying to look into the most important set of it, objectives. So what is the objective of your research? To define the type of data you're going to collect, it will help you to formulate testable research hypothesis. So I have to define. So objective. What is the objective of today? I hope that some of you learn the steps in research and try to publish research paper. This is the objective of today. That's why I'm explaining the steps. I'm almost 30 minutes now. But once we complete the step, everybody should be aware of what are the steps involved. How do I publish at the end of the day? So the objective should be very clear. A hypothesis is a statement which is an unproven statement or proposition that can be once again acknowledged. It can be same, it can be different, supported by data. So we cannot derive conclusion unless until we look into the data and try to check with the hypothesis and then get the answer. Sometimes hypothesis becomes a vague statement. So make sure that it is connected with your objective. Always remember, whatever hypothesis you are writing, that should be a connection. Remember, starting from introduction, which we started. Second is literature review. Third, when you're talking about, basically objective, research queries, hypothesis, all of them should be connected step by step. So this is important when you do your research. Okay. You have started your hypothesis, you don't know where you are going. But remember, once you have started the research, you need not worry about things. If you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there. So just start working. For starting this work on research, first step is reading. Second step is rewriting or writing and rewriting. And third step is called refining what you have written. So if you follow these steps, and then at the end of the day, you'll be able to publish your research articles. Next step, what we are moving on is called choose the study design. So in this case, we are trying to find out what is your research is about. This research design is the blueprint or framework for fulfilling objectives and answering the research queries. So it is like a plan. What is a plan? So people define plan in different way. But for me, a plan is a bridge the gap from where we are and where we want to go. Right now, I'm in some place, I want to reach the other place. So what I will do? So say, example, I want to go to India from UAE. So what am I supposed to do? So either I can take a flight or come by ship or any other way in which I can reach the other place. So first, you have to make a master plan, specifying the methods and procedures of collecting, processing, and analyzing the collected data. So this is the design, the most important step in your research, in which you make a plan where you go to this important step of collection, processing, and analyzing. Choosing the study design. There are many types. We can discuss this as a separate heading, but generally speaking, in terms of research design, some of the most popular study, I'm just looking into it: survey, experiment, secondary data study, observational study, case study, focus interview. So these are some of the most important areas in terms of collecting data. In business, normally we use survey as the best method of collecting data. There are many methods involved, but I'm just giving a glimpse of these are some of the examples. Choosing the right study design. The type of research design to be chosen from among the above four designs depends upon primarily on four factors: the type of the problem, some of them the most important, what kind of problem you are facing, or what is the objective you want to study. What is the existing state of knowledge and the problem being studied? That means first we go back to your introduction, then you look at your objective, then your problem statement, then we come back and check whether sufficient literature have been collected. Finally, what are the resources you have? Resources in terms of infrastructure, facilities, whether you can send enumerators to collect data, whether I can send it in online by Google Forms, any other methodology. Once again, when I finish the step, remember you have to read it, write it, rewrite it, and refine it, which I call it as 3R for the success of research publications. Moving further, deciding on the sample design. So basically, we are looking into what are the steps in terms of sample design. The most important area where I look into almost like hundreds of research, PhD theses which I evaluated. Normally, I find some of the sample is not acceptable. So when you do a research, please try to make sure that your sample design is proper. Don't come back with 10 people and say that I have published and it's for the entire universe, it remains the same. It cannot be a sample. So let's see what is a sample. Sampling is an important and separate step in the research process. The basic idea of sampling is that it involves any procedure that uses a relatively small number of items or portion. So if we talk about the entire world, we call it as universe, and the population, the whole population, and we can't do a study for the whole population, but we can always do something called as a sample. So in terms of population, yes, the government of different countries do this one, which they call it a census. So even in census, sometimes it happens they go with sample and try to get the data and then make it for the whole population. Sometimes they don't collect the data in tandem. But generally, census is not possible for individual researchers. It is very difficult unless until you have a lot of money. So basically, as a researcher, we always go with sample. So a sample is what? If you take the entire population, we try to get a small piece of it and then try to analyze and draw conclusions from it. So we call it a subset of a large population. So that is called a sample. So in terms of sample, I'm not going in detail, but from the sample, we draw conclusions, and then based on the measurement or the portion, we go to the population and say that it may be like that. We cannot conclude that entire population will be, but who is to be sampled, how large is the sample, how will you select the sample? Remember, as a researcher, whenever you do research, as I mentioned to you earlier, normally your dissertation, thesis, always be careful with your sampling because you should be very clear with it. The most widely used probability sampling methods are simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, cluster sampling, and systematic sampling. They have been classified by their representation basis and unit selection techniques. So whenever I see a research, always they say convenient sampling. Okay. So once again, what kind of data they have, what kind of sample they have collected. That's what I look into the research, because this is the most important thing when you do research. Two other variations of the sample method that are in great use are multi-stage sampling and probability proportional to size sampling. So this is also most important to draw conclusions. Whenever you draw conclusions, it's also a good measure to check all the sampling methods and use the appropriate and right sampling method so that your research will be successful. Once again, to give you a glimpse of it, read your sampling method, write, rewrite it, and refine it. So then you will be able to achieve success in your research. Collecting data. So this is the most interesting part where we are living in data. So what is happening with data? Okay, wherever you go, nowadays you have something called as data analytical, data analysis. Already we have data. Everybody is a part of data. Right now, I'm part of data. So everybody is a part of data. Those who are, listening to this YouTube, you are part of the data. So if you go back to this video and look back, we can find out, data. Say example, they have sent a survey to all of you. They have collected information. Say your telephone number, your email addresses, your name, your state. So all this form part of data. So data is everywhere. Everybody collects data, but data is going to be vital. Previously, they considered oil as the biggest, achievement. Now people are considering as data as the biggest achievement. So data is going to be the future. So let's see what kind of data you're going to collect. There are many ways to collect data. The approach depends upon your objective of the study. That's what we've seen in the first information. Then your research design, what kind of research design you are using it. Then the most important thing is resources, which I call it as time, money, and personal. So if you have sufficient time, if you have sufficient money, and you are, people to complete the task. Once again, we talk about here the most important classification. As a researcher, you should know what kind of data you are going to collect, whether it is qualitative data or a quantitative data. If it is qualitative, what is the best method you are going to use it? How do you collect it? How do you, try to do research on it? How do you analyze it? How do you decode it? How do you, interpret it? So the most important thing is make sure that you try to do, sometimes we call it as mixed method, where we use both qualitative as well as quantitative. So in terms of studies, always remember that it's important that when you collect data, you should be, specific in terms of qualitative or quantitative or mixed study. In terms of studies, any method is acceptable as long as you are able to collect data. Data, once again, can be collected by using surveys, by telephonic interview, by face-to-face, video, other means, whichever is secondary sources. The census, for example, the existing documents, any records, official documents, previous surveys. So once you collect data, once again go back and check all the previous process, read, rewrite, and refine it. Next stage, what we are looking into is analyzing of data. So in this stage, some of the new changes which you can look into it is basically we are talking about the various stages of data where we look into it, which is going to be the future. One is called data mining and visualization, which is happening big. Previously, it was big data, data integration, and data extraction. Though there are many areas in which research have been conducted, basically, the government, starting from government, everybody needs the data. You can see that, what kind of data want to get into it. Even in India, you can look into it, the VPN and the data, different types of data. Everybody want to know about what people are doing in terms of information. So everywhere we are connected to data. So in terms of data, it happens in all parts of the world. It can be city, it can be financial, it can be any data. So data is going to be the vital. The next step, we call it as processing and analyzing of data. In terms of processing and analyzing of data, if you're talking about analytical part of it, I'm just giving you glimpse of analytical. Why? Because the future is looking into analytical. So let's see what is important today is descriptive analytical, which we talk about what is that. That's what most of the researchers are doing it. Diagnostic, based on the data, they try to interpret things, which is also some of the researchers are doing it. But the most important research for the future is called predictive model, which is going to be the future. Predictive analytical or foresight, what people will buy, what people will be interested, what the future of cryptocurrency, what will happen to blockchain. So this is what going to drive people. This is what going to make people interested in your research. So when you do research, always take into consideration there are different research, but you have to change according to the requirement. Then it can be prescriptive analysis for the future, as well as we can draw inferences, which can be also possible with cognitive analyticals. So these are the types of analytical which is we are heading toward in terms of data. Data processing and analyzing data. So when we talk about data processing, generally begins with editing and coding of data. You have collected a survey, but when you collect the survey, always remember whether it is perfect. Because sometimes when you collect the data, you have to, we call it as cleaning the data or make sure the data is perfect. Because it may be inconsistent, it depends upon the respondents, it depends upon some omissions, errors, and so on. So the most important thing is, first you have to find out whether the data is good. In terms of editing it, it is free from errors, then whether it is clear, and then it gives the proper coding. Once the data is perfect, any analytical or any analysis you are going to do will give you a right information. If your data is wrong, based on that, if you start doing your analysis, then you will not draw any right conclusion. So the most important thing is, please look into your data and verify it is good. And if there's any error, please remove it. Because it's impractical to place raw data into your report. Then once you get the code, then you'll get an error message. Say example, a simple tool, I just give you an example. Whenever I look into some of the studies, somebody did a correlation. So the answer, it can be 0, it can go towards -1, or it can be +1. But there are researchers who write 10, 20, 50. I don't know where they study these, basic tools. So when you're analyzing something, always remember it may be typo error, but sometimes it's important. Your data and analysis is important to check before you proceed further. So in terms of processing data, the coding comes where you process the data. So basically, we have a lot of software in which you can code the data and do the analysis. So this analysis is done by mainly statistical techniques or software, which are, many of them. I'm going to give you some of them today. You can have a look into it. Some of them are free. Some of them are, paid version. But I can tell you that even with basic Excel today, you can do multiple research. If you want to do research, it's only your attitude which is important. You should have a goal. You should have your, progress. You should know the steps. If you know the steps, you can do research. Further, the researcher, based on analysis, determines if the finding are populated according to the hypothesis or theories. Always remember, whenever we do research, there should be a connection. Whatever I given you is step-by-step process. Remember, you should have an introduction. The introduction should be connected with your, research objective, where your literature you have done, then your objective, your research queries, your hypothesis, data collection, then analysis of data. Everything should be connected. Some software which have been prominent, which have been used by a lot of researchers, but I've not given them in any particular order. So if you want to do research, please learn at least to understand what is the software and how the results come out, and understand the analysis. Sometimes when I ask in a PhD forum, what software you use, they can't answer, because at least understand, even if somebody has done or helped you in the research, understand what is the process, how SPSS work. You have millions of videos available today to learn. It's only your time which decides your future, your priority, I always say. So with simple Excel, with add-in tools, you can do any analysis today. You don't need to be expert in the field, but in future, R, Python, Tableau will be the future. So if you look into it, these are the future analytical tool, PLS3, for example. So these are the things which is going to, getting into the future. Some qualitative data analytical tool I've just given it to you because normally very few people do qualitative research. So I just want to mention to you some of the research software which are available so that people are aware of it and try to use it, because in terms of qualitative research also we have only limited data analysis software. But make sure that you have the software. Maybe you can try some of the trial version and try to understand what it is and try to proceed further with this research data. So it can be qualitative, it can be quantitative, but these are some of the qualitative analytical software which you can look into it and then go back to it, and you can send me the comments. I can go back and then refer to it and come back to you. I'll share my email address at the end of the session where you can send your queries. Writing the report. This is the most important part of your research. Though we have read the report, though we have written the report, we have refined the report, this is where most of the researchers fail. I've collected a lot of information, I've done my research, I've done my sample, and I've done my data analytical, but when it comes to report writing, some of them lack the skill. Why? They don't know what is the process. Let's see what is it. Developing a research proposal or writing report require a lot of information. See, you have to connect all the dots. When we talk about dots, as I mentioned to you, your introduction, your literature review, your research objective, your hypothesis, your methodology, everything, there should be a connection. So don't start a research with your objective and do something else. Many times, I find researchers are not connected because they didn't go step by step and they don't understand the process. Say example, let's take the same example. You want to conduct the classes online or face to face. Okay, this is the research query which is sent to the student, but you do something called a hybrid model. Okay, and then try to write analysis on it. It never fix it, because when we define research, we define only two, online or face to face. So when you define this, you should make sure that your research covers these two only, not something different. So then you can give suggestion. In suggestions, recommendation, you can write anything, but don't go out of your way so that the reviewer take into consideration your research objective and your research are connected. A report is an excellent means for your research credibility. Everybody who's here can publish anything if you know the process. And remember, there should be consistent hypothesis and theories. Always support the hypothesis and theories. First, you start with the entire world, go back to your country, and go back to your area where you are conducting your research. For example, if you have done a survey. So collect the information and then go step by step. So from the whole world, I go back to my country, then my state, my city. Then if you draw inferences, your research will be interesting, and the people who are reading it as a reviewer will accept your research. The results of the study can be, once again, done in different places. The easiest way is we call it as peer-reviewed journal, though you have to be careful with nowadays because there's a lot of algorithm, there are a lot of paid journals. So I don't accept paid journal as a best way to publish papers, but sometimes for the sake of publication, people are doing it. But generally, there are many ways. Let's look into the slide. So how do you write a report? I put the steps, the most important steps of the research. First, you have to know, after writing, rewriting, and refining, these are the steps involved. An executive summary or an abstract. An abstract should give you a glimpse of the entire research. It should deal with your introduction, it deal with your literature review, it deal with your methodology, it should deal with your limitations. If you want to be specific on how to write an executive summary, you can go to research Gate, or you can go to Emerald Insight and see those research publications. If you search, you will get hundreds of research papers which will show you the step-by-step how an abstract look into it. What are the factors you have to look into it? Then background of the problem, which we call this as research objective. Then we go back to the literature review, then the methodology, then the finding, then conclusions, then references, discussion and references. There's no uniform methodology, but always follow a set of procedure so that people will understand what you are trying to say. So the most important thing is whenever we do research, whenever you try to write the report, always make sure that you are trying to get into the research and try to follow these steps, which is called reading, writing, and refining it. Now comes the most interesting part of the thing, which is called publications. So some people ask me, what are the best publications? To start with it, always try to attend a conference, publish your ideas. Okay, that's a starting point. If you have not done any research paper until now, the steps are very easy. As I mentioned to you, if you go back to the previous step, you can see if you can have this all, starting from an abstract background of the problem, research objective, literature review, methodology, finding, discussion, and conclusion in a table, and put a plan. Just please make a plan. 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever it is. Just make a plan for this and try to see how you achieve it. The most important thing is the time we spend. As I mentioned to you, most of you are listening to my YouTube video, you may be doing something else. So at the end of the day, technology is such that we can't change people. But if you really want to achieve your objective, you are clear with your goal, you'll achieve it. That's what I say. Goals are what keep us going. If you have a goal today, make a plan. Don't make a plan. Please implement the plan. Then you'll achieve your success. Moving further, publications, let me come back to it. What is important in publication? We talk about scholarly journals. So these are journals which have been, well known. For example, we talk about ABDC, ranking system. I'm not going in detail about this. We'll discuss someday about, publication as a separate topic. But generally speaking, there are journals which are professional journals. There are scholarly journals. There are popular magazines. There are peer-reviewed journals. That is the most important recognized journals which comes under UGC journals and Scopus. Remember, publication is easy nowadays compared to what was long time back, because everybody have the information, everybody can collect data, everybody can interpret data. There are a lot of software available. It's easy compared to 40, 50 years back. Today, you have a lot of information. Say example, you have a WhatsApp account, you can get your survey done by means of Google form, just like that within a week. So, but the survey instrument should be proper. The survey instrument should have all the vital information to test the hypothesis. So once you have done it, say example, then you collect the data, analyze the data, and then you can publish it. But I always mention to researchers, don't go for paid journals. Some of them are bogus, some of them are not real. Try to publish in UGC or Scopus. The Scopus start with different category like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 in a UK rating, or ABDC, whichever you are looking into it. But these are not paid journals. But the time for publication take 1 year, sometimes it may be 6 months, it may be 2 years. But at the end of the day, you know your progress. You try to look into your reviewer. Always remember, whatever you do your research, whatever area you are looking into it, please understand what reviewer are expecting from you. Please answer your reviewer in a prompt time with your proper answering technique. I just want to share information before I proceed further. When I went to Wharton School, we are given an assignment to complete. Okay, it is like 500 pages, to complete and explain to all the faculties what it is. So we went through it and tried to read and try to understand and try to look into it. Then we said that, it is type of research paper where there are a lot of steps and so on and so forth. And then, they give us a glimpse that this is a, research process in which they do it for a reviewer for a journal that time. It was happened 15 years back when I went to Wharton School. So doing research is not easy. It's a time-consuming task. But if you want to achieve success in your research, always do a collaborative research. Some people, are good in analytical. Some people are good in writing. Some people are good in data collection. So when you do combined research, your achievement goes higher. Three of you can publish in three journals, each one as a first, second, and third author based on your contribution level. But the success rate will be higher than individually. So if you are doing individual research, it takes years and years. If you look into my career, I have not published much, though I have around 10, Scopus Index journals, articles in the Google Scholar right now, three more on publication line. On an average of 1 to 2 years is my research time where I published it, because most of them are exploratory data. I collect data, I analyze data, but all this research is possible because of my co-researchers or co-authors who are contributed to it. So always it's collective effort. If I have done it individually, I may have published 3 or 4 papers to give you a glimpse of it. So in 10 years, if I do work individually, because sometimes our focus may not be good. So collective effort is the way to go forward. Please trust people and work as a collective basis so that publication is possible. So that's the most important message. Once again, reading, rewriting, and refining, for that your success rate will be higher. References, always remember to give a proper source. Cite the source. Even you have seen my anecdotes, because basically today, as I mentioned to you, that's a software which gives you like Turnitin. So universities, please pay money to get those softwares in, so that the students are aware what is accepted, what is not accepted. Because as a student in a graduate level, in a postgraduate level, if they start copying, when they go to PhD, they do the same thing because they don't know what they are doing. It's easy, as I mentioned to you, cut, copy, paste, but they don't understand. But sometimes it may result in losing the entire PhD thesis. So make sure that you give the proper references. Rewriting, re-referencing will help you. Impact factor. The most important thing when you publish in journal, please go to the impact factor. There are a lot of websites like Simigo, Scopus, that will give you a ranking order. Once again, this is a lot of information, but I just want to share. Look into the H indexes, other indexes, to look into it so that it will be helpful. Always remember to have a research forum where you publish your ideas and take it further, discuss with your peers, and so on. Before I finish, remember where we are. So as per January 2022, if you look into it, what we are trying to do is entire population. If you look into it, we are having each one of us, I don't know, all of you who are listening here, at least you have 1 mobile or 2 mobile right away. Okay, minimum. I'm just talking about mobile. In your house, each one of us has a mobile, at least one. So looking at the data, looking at the information, but whether are you using your time effectively will decide your future. If you keep on browsing YouTube, if you're watching movies, yes, good. You have to enjoy your life. Always remember, the most important thing is happiness. If you think that watching videos or playing here is your happiness, do it. But put a time constraint. At the end of the day, your success depends upon what you want to achieve. So keep a goal. That goal is important. With the way population are using the digital medium, at the end of the day, the number of hours, it's like a puzzle for me, like what they are doing. But as I mentioned to you earlier, we are in Maslow's need priority theory. Whatever you want to achieve, remember, you'll achieve it if you have your focus, if you have your plan. So with this, I'm going to conclude. I thank Kavita, Nadia, and Dr. Gayatri. First of all, I would like to thank Guru Sri, Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women, and then Dr. Gautam, the Honorable Secretary, for writings. I always go through with whoever have written something, because that is how I learn. And I like this way of university in diversity, where you talk about union as strength. And Dr. M.K. Malati, where she talks about igniting the young minds, which is once again a quite interesting article. Then when Thanks, Dr. Visalakshi, who has been, instrumental. I just finished in time because of her. She just 1 hour, said 1 hour and just finishing in time, just in time. And the organizer, the faculties, the students who are part of it, and the research scholars who are listening and who are helpful. And finally, to my parents and all my teachers, because of them I'm here. Loga Samasta Sugino Bhavantu, Dr. D. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the valuable and informative speech. I hope that this session will be very much useful for the people those who have attended. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much for the people those who have attended the session. Thank you very much.
It's a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks for today. First and foremost, I thank the Almighty for showering countless blessings and making the program a resounding success. On behalf of the entire fraternity of our college, I express my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Damodaran Varadarajan, for sparing his valuable time and imparting constructive research knowledge. Thank you, sir. I extend my sincere thanks to our Secretary, Dr. P. Gautam Wade, for his valuable support. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our Madam Principal, Dr. M.K. Malathi, for her meticulous guidance. I also extend my thanks to our FTP organizer, Dr. Visalachi, for arranging such a wonderful, informative session, and also thank all the professors for their valuable support. My special thanks to all the professors and academicians who have participated and for sparing their time too. Once again, I thank you all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you for the day.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all.